Good afternoon, good morning. Actually, we're not even streaming this. Whatever. Hi, I'm Laughingboy LP, and welcome to another fantastic episode of DialogBOX, the show where the endpoints are brought to me at the very end, and you'll win things. They're actually very nice looking this year.
These are actually. Oops. I'll keep that one.
The most expensive one.
Just shut up.
It's $20 and it's green. Hi, so I just said it. I'm Laughingboy LP, and welcome to another fantastic edition of DialogBOX. If you have, who's heard of the show? Raise your hand if you've heard of the show DialogBOX. I was gonna make a joke, but this actually fits. No, it's okay. I won't say it. So if you haven't heard of the show, it's a show where I phone my friends. My way cooler friends, and I say, hey, do you want to talk about video games? And then sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say I'm busy, sometimes they say, who are you? And, sometimes we talk about video games, sometimes we talk about content creation, sometimes we talk about our feelings, and that is the point of the podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you can find me at youtube.com/laughingboylp, and you can catch every single episode, get caught up, know all the history and all the, the plot points. It's, a little bit shorter than watching all the MCU movies combined. And then you'll be enriched with, my voice and the voices of other people, including the guest that we have today. Who are you?
Am I one of your cooler friends, or am I one of the friends that answered after the cooler friends were called? This is an important distinction.
I don't have anything else.
Hey, I'm ProtonJon.
The almost gifted streamer.
Ah, yes, thank you for bringing that back to the discussion we had earlier.
Yeah.
That none of them heard.
None of them heard. Well, I could have said something like, we talked about it in an earlier episode. Which one? You'll have to go and watch them all to find out.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Look, if everyone here subscribed today for less than the price of a cheeseburger, you'll make me very, very happy. It's free!
I was going to say, do they even have to pay to subscribe?
You don't. That's the thing. And
so
it's so
free cheeseburgers
it is so
is what
weird.
I'm hearing here.
It is so pizza party for everyone who subscribes.
Can't do that.
Not you.
He wasn't even looking.
Yeah, he wasn't. That's why I picked on him. Anyway.
We know him, don't worry.
If you're a fan of the show, we spend the first 5 minutes talking because my brain is trying to figure out what the actual topic of the show is going to be, even though I planned this out.
It's literally on his screen
a year and
right
a half
now,
ago.
So
I texted John back in, the faraway year of 2021, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if we got a whole bunch of people together in a room thinking that we're going to have a very serious discussion about video games, and it's literally just the both of us going on eBay, looking at video game prices, going like, can you believe this shit? And he said, yeah, that sounds good. And, a year later, he was like, oh, I feel ready to go to conventions again. I just don't want to do panels. And I'm like, except mine, right?
I don't need to set up for this one, though. I've been in the hotel room for the last 2 days working on drone controllers.
That's not true. You went outside. You touched grass.
Day and a half. My bad. Much better.
Okay. I forced him to breathe real air. He didn't take very well to it.
No.
We had to rush him to the hospital. That's why we almost missed a couple things. So today we're going to do a little bit of that. It's still the same panel you know and love that I just made up half a second ago, and we're gonna look at and talk about. So we like to collect things. Honestly, that's kind of what we spent 2020 through 2022 talking about on Discord. Is just me showing him very expensive things and going, "You probably want this, right?" So I'm sorry. It was me. It was mostly my fault.
He's saying that to my wife for the record. So.
I'm an enabler. In fact, I still have some games in my trunk that are supposed to go to you.
I swear I don't have a problem.
No, he doesn't. Really, the problem is how expensive these damn video games are.
Nice, smooth.
There's a very smooth transition like X-Lax. And so we're gonna, I really didn't think about how this was going to go, and so we are just going to kind of talk about our experiences with buying it. You collect video games, don't you, John?
I have a couple.
Yep, so do I. And I'm sure everybody in this room has at least one video game that they have purchased.
Who here has not ever bought a video game ever?
Shut up,
I know
Falls.
you're a
No,
liar in the back
You're
right
a
there.
fucking liar. Don't even. Thank you for the mag points, by the way. And about halfway through, I was like, maybe I should put in some effort into this. So what we'll do is we'll complain, we'll bitch and moan for about a half an hour, and then we will open the mic up to the audience to allow you guys to bitch and moan. And depending on how well you bitch and or moan, we will give you M points as a token of our either appreciation or of our pity.
No literal moaning though. I think this is actually PG-13. So.
What's the first game? What is a video game? I mean, look, if you've been down in the expo hall over the last 24 hours, you've probably seen some really ridiculous prices. Those prices are not far off. They may not be exactly brand new sealed prices. Some of them are a little bit here and there. But that Pokemon box for $7,000, that's not a lie.
That's down there.
Yep, he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Give him a mag point. Ah! No, there's some ridiculously priced video games, and I think we can also talk a little bit about our experience. What's the most expensive video game in your collection so far?
That would probably be for me a complete in-box copy of the Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak for the NES.
All right, let's take a look at that. Feliant Stone S Surprise at Dinosaur Peak for...
I did not pay that much money for it. I will state that now.
One a year. That's how crazy that is. Like, one gets sold per year. Now, here's the thing, and here's what I had to learn over the last couple of years, is that when you look at eBay, that really isn't the value of said game. It is just the value that people think that they are about to get away with. And when the economy goes to the crap, like, I don't know, when people had to stay inside their homes for about a year or 2 years or 3 years and had disposable income, they will buy things, and they will buy things like video games, and then that market starts to increase at a stupid rate.
The worst part is a lot of us expected when COVID hit and conventions kind of disappeared, that was the main feeding point for all this market. Like all those booths that go to conventions and sell games, usually they're kind of setting the price point. So with them gone, a lot of us expected it to go down a little bit, and it kind of did the opposite.
Well, and the thing for me is that when I look at certain booths, is that they like to specifically look at eBay. They don't even look at video game pricing. They just go on eBay and they're like, somebody is trying to sell .hack mutation sealed for... Let's look it up.
That's the fourth one, right?
.hack mutation?
Yeah, that's the one that's
2.
actually... Oh, no. No, the fourth one's the most expensive of them.
Is it actually going to show, or do I have to actually do dot?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Period hack.
Period hack. .hack mutation for the PlayStation 2. Ooh, that went down in price.
Yeah, it's the fourth one.
Holy crap, that's not bad.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's the fourth one. I think it's Quarantine, I think is the last one.
All right, let's look at Quarantine.
Quarantine is the one that went crazy.
All right, .hack.
Dot. All right,
boys.
So complete $32 for the second game in the series. The fourth one, complete $285.
Here's what's so bizarre about this. So 10 years ago, it was probably 10 or 12 years ago is when I started, I finally became a man. And when you become a man, you have money. And when you have money, and you buy video games. And around that time, I was like, I really wanted the .hack quadrilogy because I didn't have a PS2 and they were new. And I was able to grab 1, 3, and 4, brand new, $40.
Wow.
That's 2010,
Okay,
2009.
so the PS2 was still getting games at that point.
It was, but you weren't seeing these games anymore.
You didn't want SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 for the PS2?
I could have gone to GameStop and just gone to the little penny bin. I was working there at the time. I would have gotten a discount. I would have gotten a discount. So, but dot hack mutation, you couldn't find. You couldn't find new. And so I found it new complete or used complete for $80. That was the most expensive I had paid for that entire quadrilogy. So it's to me, it's crazy to see that has like gone up.
I mean, to put this in perspective, that price right there, that is the equivalent of buying, I think, the remaining 3 in dot hack and also the next 3 games in the GU series. I think you can get all 7 of them for the price of just that one.
And I think even in the GU series, I think one of them was super mass produced, and then one of them was like not produced at all.
And then GU got a re-release on like Switch and everything.
And so now, well, and that's that's another fun topic to think about is that re-releases do nothing.
Earthbound. Let's talk about Earthbound.
How many times has Earthbound shown up on digital services? At least 2 or 3 times.
I think we finally hit the number 2 now. Yeah.
Well, what? We have 3DS, we have Wii U, and now we have Switch Online. So that's at least 3. And let's take a look. I think I looked it up. You could have seen it in the thumbnail earlier. Call of the Earthbound, my favorite. Super Nintendo.
Oh! Yep. There you go.
And that's not the worst thing I found in my research.
That is a very expensive whisper.
I mean, it's crazy. I think the biggest slap in the face to me personally is when you buy a copy of Earthbound for $2,000 and the guy left the price tag when it was on clearance. And so it says something like $15.99. You're like, maybe make that a comma instead of a period. Move it over a little bit, and there you got the actual price that it is now. What got you started into collecting?
It was pretty much the same like as you. Like I got to university in 2003, and I hadn't gotten rid of any of the games I had as a kid. And before I left, I picked up a couple of the NES games my friends had that they were no longer playing. And a guy showed up at the university, at the campus, and he just had a table of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Genesis games. He's like, yeah, I'm just selling them. I just go around to different universities just selling them off, and that's how I make a living. And then I looked at the table, and he had Dragon Warrior 4 for like $20. And this is Canadian, I should clarify. So it's all like.
So that was like
at
30
the time,
cents American.
I thought it was like, oh, that's a lot, man.
Yeah,
No one plays these games anymore. But nowadays, you could buy that entire table for the price of that.
I felt like I got so unlucky. So at one point I didn't have a PlayStation. Yeah. But I wanted to play PlayStation games, and emulation was becoming a big thing. So I figured that I can just get a PlayStation emulator and just buy the games. And at one point I was kind of like, this is working, but it's not great. This is still 2000, because I think the PS2 was just out. And at the time, I could still buy a brand new copy of Dragon Warrior 7 for $25, and I think a brand new copy of some other JRPG for the same price. So for $25, I could have gotten 2 very rare games. Instead, I bought a PS1 because I just wanted the actual play. I changed my mind. When you're 12, things happen. Okay, you change your mind on the fly, and nothing really makes sense. And then I was like, oh, I'll just get it later. I'll just buy it later.
I mean, that's the thing, too. One of the ones that you had on the cover there, for the splash picture, I can attest to this. There was a notorious store in Calgary called Video Game Trader for the longest time. It got under new management now, and it's really good. But at the time, the older management was known for raising the price on things. So, in their NES area, they had a boxed copy of a game called Little Samson.
Oh, yeah.
And this was probably 2004, 2005. I've been in Calgary for a year or 2. And they had a boxed copy of it for $100 Canadian. And everyone I was with was like, man, that's too expensive for an NES game. That's crazy. Who would pay something like that?
Who would?
You want to show how much that is now?
Yeah, let's show everybody what it looks like now.
So basically, never second guess yourself is what I'm saying here.
Well, the problem is that we only have so much money, and there are so many times where I have done this to myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I bought Halo 2 instead when I went here.
I mean, I've had those moments where I'm just kind of like, I could get it now, but I'm sure I'll be able to get it later, and then later comes and the game disappears, and I think I wound up getting by paying $50 used a copy of Dragon Warrior 7, and then about a week later the price shot up.
Yeah.
And so I kind of dodged a bullet there, but it wasn't a great bullet. By the way, I'll never own this game unless it's a reproduction. There's no way.
I'm going to just preface this right now. For those of you that are thinking of getting into collecting right now, my answer is immediately don't.
Yeah.
Just do not. Like,
Or-
I will state this 100%. Just buy an EverDrive. You can do like the actual hardware if you want. But it is just so much easier and so less headache just doing something like that.
Yeah.
Collect what you want to collect. Like if you've got a game you have like a fond memory of, just be prepared. Like the prices have gone bonkers for some of these.
And part of that is either part of it is things like the pandemic where people were just starting to buy into hobbies. They, instead of buying concert tickets, they're now buying Pokemon cards and stuff like that. And part of it is also when we grow up, we start wanting to either buy games that we grew up with, either because we sold them back to buy the newest thing, thinking that we'll never ever want to play these, I'll never want to play Mario Kart 64 again. And you get older and you have that disposable income, and all of a sudden PlayStation games now start to go up. You have to look at the generational gap where people are just kind of growing up with DS games, and now all of a sudden those have shot up in price. And it's with the DS, even at the beginning, it's sort of, you would see little spots, like a game or two, like Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 is a good example, where Dragon Quest 4 was pretty well produced on the DS, and so you could find it pretty easily at a pretty standard rate. Dragon Quest 5 was heavily underproduced, and I reserved my copy because I wanted them. And Dragon Quest 5 in particular, for a really long time, just shot up in price. It was so hard to find, and I didn't even realize it until later that all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, that game is hundreds of dollars all of a sudden. And then Dragon Quest 6, which was mass produced by Nintendo, worthless. You could still find that a year or two after the 3DS had come out, and it's one of it's sitting there with hundreds of copies of Shrek 2 for the Xbox. Sometimes there are some games that are worthless, but we can't all be Shrek 2. Sometimes we have to be Little Samson or Power Blade 2. I think the worst part is the sequels.
Yeah, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2 is pretty up there.
Chip and Dale 2, Power Blade 2,
2,
DuckTales 2. Oh yeah.
So it's all stuff that came out after the next system was out. I think almost all these came out in 93 or 94, and the Super Nintendo had been out in North America for 2+ years at that point. So no one was buying NES games. So as a result, they've kind of all gone up. This game never got an official re-release until the Disney Afternoon Collection.
That's correct.
5 years ago, 6 years ago now? It was a couple years back, but that was the first time you could legally play the game. You got lucky and found a card, or emulated.
Well, and that's the problem too, because Chip and Dale 1 was mass produced.
Yeah,
and then they
you can
decided
probably get Chip and Dale 1 for $20 right now.
Let's see.
Maybe not. I'm just saying cart, but is
loose. Yeah, we can check the loose.
It should be a lot cheaper than this one.
I really should just be copying the screen and make so that I can
$20 loose cart. $20 US.
Yeah. And it's so easy to find though, and that's the thing. That game's easy to find, but if you want to have that game and you want to play its sequel, unless you have a Sony or Xbox system or Steam, I think you can play the Disney Afternoon Collection. Rest in peace, Switch owners. They never got that for some reason. And yeah, that was just one of those things where I get so frustrated because that game, DuckTales 2, Power Blade 2. Literally any game that came out in 1994 and 1995 on the NES was all of a sudden just increased.
Was there anything 95 NES? Because I thought Wario's Woods was one of the last ones.
I thought it was 95.
Might be. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be a Throne Controllers question tomorrow.
Wow. Watch the show. Win on TRG.
Tomorrow at noon.
Oh,
be there.
boy. Now you have to watch my show. YouTube.com/LaughingBoyLP. And that was an issue for like NES, and then we can talk a little bit about the 3DS and the kerfuffle that came out of that. I was shocked at a Twitter comment thread that I took part in where somebody was like, oh, this is what I need to get off the 3DS eShop before it closes, otherwise I'll never be able to get it again. And 2 of the games on the list were Dragon Warrior 7 and 8, or Dragon Quest 7 and 8. And I was kind of like, no, you can get those physically. And they're like, not at those prices. And I went, not at what prices? And I looked them up, and yeah, they are ridiculous.
These are the 3DS versions of these games?
Yep. Let's take a look at Dragon Quest 8, for example.
Oh, wow.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
But it's not technically accessible compared to the 3DS eShop. Let's take a look at Dragon Quest.
And the
Roman
eShop,
numerals?
the eShop closes at some point this year, right?
It does. It does. Actually, okay.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That could, well,
That's new
and that's the
price.
problem. Like, that's just us being privileged assholes, being like, oh, 80 bucks, whatever.
Well, look at the graph. The graph's the better example because it's like it's dipped low and then suddenly it shoots right up and then it's kind of on a downward curve again.
Well, and that's the other thing I noticed about video games is that at a point when the system that it comes out on is starting to become obsolete, you can get outrageous discounts on a bunch of games that people just, like, GameStops want to get rid of.
Yeah.
And so that's the time to go in and make sure that you can get what you can get, because after that, and once games are discontinued, that's when you start to see that curve. And I think this, if I can even see the date here, which I cannot. When is that?
March 2021.
No kidding, right around the pandemic. How silly, right around the time that Nintendo was like, we don't want to do this 3DS eShop stuff anymore.
Should we talk about the other big thing that started happening in collecting around this time?
What specifically?
Grading games.
What? You guys don't like that? You guys don't like the hack that is getting your games graded?
$100,000 for Mario 64.
Yeah, so this is one of the main reasons that prices spiked up. People were like looking for the next big thing to get in on, and someone, was it WETA, WETA, that was the one that got in trouble for fixing prices?
No, it was the other one that just sprouted, I think.
Okay, some company, I cannot remember the name, well, I don't
Was
think
it WADA?
Was it WADA?
It was WADA? Okay.
Okay.
They were for the retro.
Yeah, so one of the companies that did grading started doing video game grading, and they set the record at the time for, was it boxed Mario Bros. NES, Super Mario Bros. 1.
Yeah, it was Super Mario Brothers 1, and then I think after that was Legend of Zelda, and then after that was Super Mario 64.
Mario 64 was the one that hit $1 million, right?
Yeah, you're probably not going to see it here, though. I don't think they count this, but I mean, because of that, like...
There, you can see the spike. That giant spike, that I believe is when the $1 million sale happened. That's just the loose cartridge price. Yeah, there it is. There it is. There it is. $250,000. Fun fact, you can go down to the expo hall right now and probably buy that cart for like 50? If even?
Yeah, I mean, even then, like, 50 is still an increase from what it used to be like 2 years ago, when I think you could probably get the game for maybe 30 bucks.
Yeah.
I think some of the issues that I also see is that you'll get re-releases of games like Mega Man X. I laughed when people were like, oh, Mega Man X is like $50 now. I'm like, no, Mega Man X is like worth way less than the other two games, and considerably it still is, but it's weird to me that like Mega Man X is considered like more expensive or worth more now because it got that Majesco re-release. So that was a game that for the longest time was maybe sitting around like $20-$30, and then all of a sudden, the price went up to like $50. I'm like, excuse me, like that game? Because like even at the time, X2 I bought for like 120, and X3 I bought for 250. Cart only.
And now those are both complete. Oh, I don't know if X3 is over 1,000 yet, is it?
Let's check.
Mega Man.
Mega Man. Mega Man?
Ego Man. Yeah, X3. Yep, there you go.
And hey, look, when did all this happen? 2021! Yay! A lot of people wanted to take advantage of the market, create false scarcity too. I think that was an issue with Earthbound in particular.
Yeah.
The reason why Earthbound is so hard to get is because a lot of people just hold on to them, and then a lot of these sales that you see are just collectors trading hands in order to increase the price.
Yeah, there's a lot of fixing, unfortunately, in certain groups. So.
I mean, it's crazy to sometimes see, like, I remember when I first started going to East Starland like 10 years ago, you could still buy, they had these full shipping containers of F-Zero for the Super NES and Perfect Dark for the N64. For some reason, those two games. And they had like tens of shipping carts full of these games, maybe like 12 to 20 to a box, I don't know. But you know, it's fully sealed, still brand new, never been sold, and somehow this store just had like a bunch of them. And even now, those games are just considered like way too expensive. I think I maybe paid $10 for both or something like that, you know, each.
Yeah, it's just weird how much everything spiked. But it's also like, I know that the company that was doing Graded, I think they actually had a lawsuit happen.
So I think if I
what was the deal
remember
with that?
correctly, they had. So WADA was doing deals with an auction site, if I remember correctly, and the auction site was where you were seeing these news stories of like Super Mario 64 selling for $250,000, or you know, the gold cartridge Zelda, the most common one you can find, in box complete, was selling for an insane amount of money, and it was all these records that were breaking because, and the fact of the matter is that these games are so well produced, they're not special. The only reason why they're special is because they have notoriety.
Yeah. In May of 2022, a lawsuit was levied against WADA Games, claiming that the company artificially increased the value of graded games, encouraging others to purchase WADA's services. This included those with interest in the company bidding on and purchasing games for hugely inflated sums into the millions. It basically became a money laundering scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah, they own the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
So it just became this thing where essentially they were trying to build up press by, because search engine optimization, you just type in Super Mario Brothers, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this game that was extremely mass produced. Dude, I remember you could buy Super Mario Brothers plus Duck Hunt at Funko Land for 15 cents. The game is worthless.
Yeah.
But like all of a sudden now a boxed copy of it that was sealed, well, this was maybe a first run, we don't know. And like as long as it has like the little the plastic hanger on it, you know, all of a sudden it's worth like millions of dollars.
And like we think like, okay, maybe we're the only ones like that actually care about this or hear about this, but like no, this got like mainstream attention. My own mom called me. He's like, hey, I found one of those like old game boxes of yours in like storage.
Do you want
this? I heard it's worth a lot of money. And like it was a boxed case for Super Bomberman 2, so it was like $50. But I'm just like, yeah, I'll take that. But then she also brings up like my VHS copy of Aladdin I had as a kid. She's like, I heard one of these sold for $10,000. You should check that. I'm like,
dude, that's actually a market now.
I know.
Like VHSs are getting graded. Why? Why? This is out of control. They're coming for your movies now. Tell everyone before it's too late. Or buy now, because it'll be worth something in about 2 years. You know, take advantage of it, or try to stop it. So we're at the halfway point. Do we want to talk about our personal triumphs and stories, and then we'll open it up to the audience?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, what was the biggest bullet you dodged? Other than, well, I guess Little Samson was pretty big.
I mean, I'm sad. Well, I don't know if it's a bullet I dodged or like a bullet I had to take later. Because I ended up I have the game.
Oh, you didn't actually buy it for 100?
No, I wish I had.
Oh,
I
so
really
that's the opposite. So that's the other side that we want to talk about.
I think my biggest lucky break was my first time working at EB Games. I was up in Fort McMurray, which was where my family was living at the time, and it was the only store there for video games that wasn't like a retail store, and it was an oil boom town. So people just kind of showed up there to work and left. Like most people who lived there only lived there because they had family that worked in the oil industry, stuff like that. Money was pretty prevalent. This kid came in during one of my shifts. He just like, yeah, I've got a box of games I just kind of want to get rid of. I scanned all of them into the system because at the time you could still take these games, and they all came up for 5 cents each. The games I scanned were Castlevania 4, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, Super Mario RPG, Final Fantasy 3. Like, you can tell where this is going. It's all like stuff that nowadays is worth a couple hundred each. And I was like, yeah, we can only offer you like 50 cents total. And the kid was like, yeah, that's fine. Oh my God. So my manager was the one doing the trade because myself and my friend Carlin were both like, can we do this one? Because you're not supposed to do this. But most people, if they've worked enough at EB or like GameStop, will be like, hey, I can't do this on the premises, but if you'd like to step outside of the store, I can offer you slightly more money for this. That if your district manager finds out about that, you are going to get fired. But when you live in a town where no one else is there, it's much easier to do. So our manager was like, yeah, just take it off premises. And we gave them $5 each per game. But so we still got them for a steal. But this same kid came back later and he sold me a complete in box Sega Genesis and Sega CD. Yeah, I don't know where this kid got all this cool stuff, but like, I was just like, are you sure you just want to part with this for like $1? I was like, yeah, no, I want like Melee because like the GameCube was out.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, how many people in this room, and maybe we'll open up the floor in a bit, but how many people in this room, just a show of hands, have like made the regrettable decision to sell their games because they wanted the new thing? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very common. So
honestly,
don't feel bad about it.
I typically have never sold back games except for when the HD recollections came out. The HD remasters came out. I sold some of those games.
Yeah.
And I kind of regretted that a little bit. So I'm now going back to my PS2 collection and being like, all right, what did I sell? Let me get the. In some cases, I actually got in real lucky because right before those pandemic prices started, I was buying Black Label Ratchet and Clank sealed for like $15, and now that's insane. I was buying like all these games that I had sold because, if anything, I will say the HD remasters on PlayStation made a lot of PS2 games decrease in value because a lot of people like me were doing that, where they were selling those games back. The only ones I didn't do that for were Final Fantasy X, 12, and 10-2, and then I didn't do that for Ratchet Deadlocked because the HD remaster was garbage. And then I think like the biggest, bullet I dodged was when I first got my NES, like back in 1998. A friend of mine was just selling his NES and a bunch of games, and he said he wanted $30 for the NES, and I think maybe an extra $20 for like a pack of games, and it's the general like Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Mario Brothers 3, like games like that. It wasn't anything like insanely special or expensive. Unfortunately I don't have any of those like NES games, but what happened was I went to pick up the games. I give the kid, my friend, like I think total $45, $50. His mom interjected because she misunderstood the deal, and she thought that I was only supposed to give him $30 for everything.
Oh.
And I said nothing.
Oh. So you're the problem.
And I walked away with the NES and a bunch of games, a bunch of free games, basically. And we don't talk anymore. A friend let me borrow his copy of Tales of Eternia, which is technically called Tales of Destiny 2 in America. He's never getting that back. We don't talk anymore.
Yeah, I got a similar story to that. NES Tournament Fighters.
Nice.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for NES. I borrowed it off a friend, and then they moved.
Yeah.
And just never asked. But I had the same thing happen to me. I loaned Battle Network 1 to a friend, and he sold it for weed.
I had a friend legitimately sell me a copy of Chrono Trigger, just the cartridge, for $50 back like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And that was just out of the kindness of his heart because it wasn't even worth $50 back then. He knew what it was worth. He just had an extra copy. And he didn't want me to pay over $100 for it. And so that was just a very nice thing for him to do. So, not all of my game collections end in broken bridges. Just some of them.
Just some.
Enough where it's concerning.
What about you guys? How
Yeah.
many stories do you guys have to tell about this? Hop up in the middle here up to the mic and tell us what you've gone through. And Cole jumps to it.
Cole jumps. Please don't ask about feet pics again, Cole.
To be fair, you were. Never mind.
You already got them. You're right. Do you need help?
Oh, I stepped on the mic.
Oh, okay.
I'm already messing everything up.
You're making it worse, Colsif.
I got it. There we go. We're good. We're good.
Welcome.
I'm good. Hello. I guess.
What's your name? Well, I said Cole like 5 times.
Hi.
I wonder if it's Cole. You're right. I steal games from kids.
What? Wait. What?
Did you not hear
Told
me?
that story. He literally just told that story.
Oh.
Pay attention, Colsif.
Anyways, Cole.
Hi, I'm Hypercool. I edit for the long-haired dude.
Hi.
So I guess my story, it actually sort of revolves around today because it's not as big of an amount, but I feel like it's still pretty significant. I've been paying attention mainly to the GameCube prices because they've definitely gone up, unfortunately.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
they have.
Yeah.
And this is definitely not as high, but I'm a big fan of the GameCube Mario parties, particularly. My favorite Mario Party is Mario Party 6. And specifically, so that game currently is, so it's not the most expensive game, but yeah, like $82 and then $300 new, so it's not cheap. So I was going to tell that story. So to compare the prices, around 2017, I was at Portland Retro, and there was a copy of Mario Party 6 for around $35, which might not seem crazy, but I was also at a PBG panel before that, and I won Super Mario Maker, and I got $25 credit, so I got Mario Party 6 for $10.
Nice.
$10. And then I come here to MAGFest, and I see it in a box for $110, and I'm like, what the hell?
So Mario Party 6 is weird because you could just buy the disc by itself. which is
Yes.
The case. But then it had a big box version that came with a microphone. And
Oh
that
yeah, that's
one's
probably more expensive. Yeah.
The GameCube is weird because it had 5 games maybe that came in big boxes. Like there's
Pokemon
Odama,
Box is one of them.
Pokemon 6,
Odama
7.
is one of them.
And then Pokemon Box is the big one where
Pokemon Box is the big one where I think just the box by itself adds
$3,000
to the price.
And then there's
just the
Yeah.
box,
Yeah.
I mean,
not the case.
I mean, there's also all the bonus disc stuff like Mario Kart Double Dash, Dual Disc. I got that for $90 at Portland Retro, which seems like obviously they don't compare to thousands of dollars. It might seem like a bit, but when you compare it to online where you can get it for I think I've seen it for $100 or something.
Hey, guys.
I was just I had to get it. And I got
Sorry
it
to
with
interrupt.
cash.
Look, guys, it's a little difficult to hear with everyone congregating. I know it's an exciting topic, but I just want to make sure that I can at least hear everybody coming up to the mic. So, if you don't mind.
I think the most egregious one is probably Rhythm Heaven Fever. That game I think is currently $70 to $80 used, if I remember correctly.
Can I spell rhythm?
I got it in 2016
Alright,
for $20, sealed, sealed, which is
Nice.
kind of which is God damn it, fuck, what the fuck?
You want to show when it perks up again? You want to show when that giant curve happens?
Jeez,
Wow,
What do you know?
What do you know? What do you know?
COVID!
Oh man.
Yay!
And it doesn't help that Nintendo doesn't care about the franchise either. But yeah, those are my stories. It's smaller stuff, but it's weird to think about those games that I bought back in the day, and suddenly they're just way more expensive and everything else like that, which
Yep.
makes it all the more reason to emulate, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks, Cole.
Take your $5. Hello.
Hi there. My name is Sam. I've been collecting, I'd say, most of my life. I really started collecting back in 2010, and recently, with the overall growing prices I've noticed of DS and 3DS games, I've gotten more into collecting more 3DS, DS and 3DS titles. One of my biggest regrets as a collector is when on my 12th birthday, my mom got me a DS Lite, and she got me Pokemon Soul Silver and Heart Gold.
Okay.
And I want to point this out. I still have the Pokewalker for Pokemon Soul Silver.
Nice.
And when I was 12, I was a stupid fucking kid. I'm sorry for dropping an F-bomb, but you're going to call me an idiot for this. Everyone in this room. I let somebody borrow Pokemon Heart Gold, and I never got it back. I still have Soul Silver, thankfully. But I will not wish death. I hope they live and suffer. But
Wow. Okay.
But-
maybe not that harsh.
It wasn't me, in case anybody's asking.
okay, sorry. But it's one of the biggest regrets for me as a gamer now because it was like when my brother and I, we grew up with those two like DS titles because Soul Silver is in my top 5 favorite Pokemon games. My favorite is
Just the Pokewalker? Dang, just the Pokewalker.
oh god.
That's the Pokewalker
Yes,
version.
Or is it, with Pokemon?
that's with the
yeah,
Pokemon.
Yeah,
Here we go,
but-
here we go.
It's
Yeah.
just
Same
Po-
time.
the
Pokemon
box
will
is still
always
worth
go up in
something.
price.
Yeah, the box is still worth something.
But,
But-
but hey, nature's healing, guys. Nature's
We're
healing.
getting better. It's gonna be all right.
So here's a fun one. This one actually has a point you can point to because who was that well-known YouTuber that everyone hates?
Oh,
Logan Paul.
The Paul, thank you,
yeah,
the Paul
that's the
brothers.
guy, the Paul brothers.
Yeah,
Another,
they got into Game Boy Color collecting and Pokemon card collecting, and they kind of killed the market there for a while, and the Pokemon games suffered for it. So those all spiked because of the Pauls.
I mean, you can go downstairs now, and there is a booth selling a bunch of box copies of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow for
I saw that,
250, I think, just complete. So,
Yeah.
But I want to also say, sorry for continuing, sorry about that. Another case of recently I noticed the games I started collecting.
Yeah.
I was able to get my hands on Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow for the DS. Got
Okay.
that
Nice.
for $20 and I still have it. I was going to sell it at one point, but I noticed recently all the Castlevania games on DS have increased immensely.
Yeah.
And Dawn
Order
of
of
Sorrow,
Ecclesia, I think, was like the first one, too.
yeah, that was 2005 to 2004.
Yeah.
But another thing I did a while back was I had no idea how much it was worth even loose was Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. For the
Oh, yeah, Portrait of Ruin.
That I actually sold because in 2019 I was kind of having a rough time a little bit with
Yeah.
finances.
Yeah.
Like MAGFest was coming up. I needed to make sure I had money for that. I
makes
sold
sense.
my loose price copy, but then I got a complete in-box copy. And then recently I completed the trilogy because this man is a bad influence. He's an enabler. He told me to pick this up. I'm sorry for continuing this on. I know.
Please speed up.
So
Please speed up.
Yeah.
with it, she sent me a picture of Castlevania Order of Ecclesia for $150. I was just like this. Well, what else do I got to lose? So I got Order of Ecclesia complete with the box. And that is probably the most I've ever spent with retro game collecting. And I'm honestly proud to own it because I will never sell it.
That's probably the perfect place to have stopped. I wouldn't go much farther than that, personally, if you can avoid it.
It was $150. So
Yeah.
what, did I regret it? No. So
One of the thank you for your thing. One of the right.
Take
one of the-
$2.
One of the big things about game collecting that I always find weird is that it's always the games
Mag
you
points.
never have ever heard of are the ones that shoot up in price. Can you look up a game called, I think, Shepherd's Crossing 2
Oh,
for the
God.
DS? I believe that's the name of the game. Yeah, Shepherd's Crossing 2. This is a DS game. I had never heard of it before. I don't know anyone who
Whoa.
has.
Whoa!
It's $430 complete. I don't know anyone who's ever heard of
pretty
it. The company that publishes
Yeah,
Graffiti, they've done a
am I good
couple
to
games.
sit back down? I'm sorry.
What?
What's that?
Am I good to sit back down?
Yeah,
good.
you're
Sorry,
good.
you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just always games that no one's ever heard of are the ones that always shoot up the most. And
Yeah.
it's so weird.
So as a just quick tangent into mine, I managed to find a Pokewalker for $40, and that's probably the most I've ever spent on a game accessory.
Yeah.
But the fun thing about when you start collecting in the middle of a pandemic, like I did, is when you try to go into a weirdo, obscure RPG series.
Oh no.
Which one?
I started into Xenosaga.
Oh, here
My
we
friend
go.
convinced me to go into Xenosaga. And for episode 1, I mean, I think I paid like $24 for it. Wasn't that bad. Episode 2, I paid like $50. You know, a little more expensive. The only one that ever went over in Europe. And for 3, I see that you have 3 up there. I paid more. I paid $280. It's
I was about
not
to say,
that
which one?
much.
When
Which
did
one
you
of
do
you?
that? Was
Which
it-
one is you? Is this one?
That was around the time I bought it, I think.
Yeah. We should point out we are using a site called Price Charting, which basically aggregates all the sales from like eBay, Amazon, etc. This is not a like definitive way to measure the price because sometimes some people just set the price
Yeah,
or
exactly,
whatever.
yeah.
But it is usually a good benchmark of like, okay, if it's a little higher or a little lower than this, that's where it should be. If it's like 500 more than like what's there, someone's just trying to rip you off, etc. Or just
Yeah.
trying to raise the price.
It's a better, I guess it's still a better reading than just going on eBay and looking at all the prices, which
Yeah.
can be very misleading. I mean, I thought, you know, I bought a brand new copy of Ape Escape 3 during, you know, this time frame, this 2020, 2021 time frame for brand new $80, and then I think all of a sudden it shot up to 300, and I'm like, what the hell? Like less than a month later. So but if you're just looking at eBay prices, you'll kind of get stuff like that. So, anything else?
I, other than me still feeling stupid for selling all my old Pokemon games and recollecting them over the years, no.
No,
You
don't
want
worry.
10 bucks?
Every kid's like that. Don't worry.
By the way, you can, I don't know if we've seen Mag Points or anybody knows what these are. You can use them downstairs. It gives you a discount in that amount, USD, for anything that you buy in the merch booth. So,
Yeah, it's the equivalent of money that just works at the vendors downstairs.
yep.
Hello, my name
Hello.
is Matt, and I'm a collectaholic.
Oh God.
Hi, Matt.
Matt, you and I have
Mainly
so many
exacerbated
stories.
during the pandemic by this man right here
It's my fault.
for being there to just listen to me like talk about all the stuff that I found, and yet he has the gall, the audacity to be on that stage and talk about finding Dragon Warrior 4 for only $20 when I paid $200 for mine with only the box, no map, no manual, just the box and the cart.
I mean, to be fair, I was 17 at the time. I'm 37 now. This was 20 years ago.
I can still be mad. $200.
That doesn't change anything.
And that's really the only thing I have to say.
All right.
Thanks.
You want to? Hello.
Hello. So, I have 2 stories where I went to a Walmart or Target and I
Hey, guys,
saw
yeah, can we keep
Yeah,
it?
sorry, quiet in the back.
and I saw a new 3DS Galaxy version for like around 200 or whatever.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh hey, this is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I don't have the money for it right now. I might come back for it later. And then Nintendo announced that they're going to be stopping services for 3DS. And then I could not find a reasonable price for a 3DS.
Oh, that's cheaper than I thought for that.
Not too bad.
That's cheaper than I thought. So, fun fact: if you've listened to our Mario Party DS playthrough on TRG, this is the model of 3DS I was playing. So
These were pretty prevalent at the time, too.
They were at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they were really nice, but
Yeah.
no, they're one of the more expensive models to get now. I think the most expensive ones is this one and all the Pokemon ones.
Oh, Pokemon.
Like the Pikachu one, I think is worth a fair amount. The Zelda ones are worth a fair amount.
I accidentally broke that one.
Yeah, and then the actual like Pokemon bundled ones were also like big up there too.
There was a 20th anniversary? Oh, yeah, these.
Yeah, this is when they actually released the new 2DS.
Hell yeah.
Or sorry, new 3DS. Yeah, the ones with the replaceable
This is just a
lids.
new 3DS, not the XL, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these were brand new around the same time. Man, that was a good anniversary. What was the other story?
My second story is I went to a cousin's friend's mom's friend. I'm not really sure. And they had a copy of Pokemon Yellow Guard of Darkness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was and he had like a bunch of shooter games, and I asked him, "Hey, are you still playing this?" He's like, "Oh no, I don't play that game anymore." Like, "Oh, can I have it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And I got a copy of Gale of Darkness.
Nice.
And
Very
one
nice.
one
Very
time,
nice.
he actually came over like, "Hey, I actually want this game back." Like, "Okay, can you at least let me finish it first, and come back, basically come get it later?" Like, "Okay, yeah, sure, just finish the game." I have yet to see him. So that's on him.
Curiouser and curiouser.
At least I beat the game.
Yeah.
And got the Pokemon I needed.
You want some mag points? Hello.
Hello.
Hey, so I don't actually have that much of a history of collecting. I'm actually kind of curious to see two games I bought as a kid.
You
just
want to
see
do a
the-
price check?
You want to do a price? We'll do a price check.
Well,
sure.
so the thing is, even though I was born in 1996, I love SNES games. So I bought in 2007. A friend of mine had Mega Man 7 boxed. I got a steal from it. I'm pretty sure he only gave it for me for 110.
Oh, you definitely have underpaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
Ooh, look at that. What the heck?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing with Super Nintendo collecting. This is a pain in the ass thing about it.
Yes.
A lot of the well-known games have two prints. One is the regular, usually made in Japan, and one is the, I forget if it's assembled in Mexico or made in Mexico print.
I've always said it's interchangeable, but I think we
There-
checked yesterday
yeah.
and it was assembled.
There's an actual list that
Yeah.
says it, but Majesco, the company, republished a bunch of games that were like big hits,
Including
on
Mega Man
the
X.
SNES. Like X-Men games, Mega Man games, I think all the X games, like basically anything that you know is like what would be a greatest hits, they reprinted, but the specific paper they use for the boxes, for the manuals, and the labels are all lower quality. And
Usually
you can
in black
actually,
and white,
Yeah, and
yeah.
usually you can only tell if you're like looking at them in person, but like they are worse quality. And that has completely ruined the market for a bunch of these. So they're like X7 shot up significantly when that started kind of getting figured out.
Yeah.
And there's just a bunch of other ones like Dracula X that went up in price and just stuff like
Dracula,
that.
yeah.
So if you got the Japanese print, you extremely got a steal.
Yeah.
I'm not completely sure. In fact, also granted, I was like 10 years old when
Yeah.
I bought it,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
110 to me was like several months of allowance. But
That was expensive.
yep. And then the one other game I want to like quickly check, because this one I think I may have gotten ripped off on because I only got the loose cartridge used.
Yep.
In 2014, it was Battletoads and Battle Maniacs for 75.
That sounds about right. Just for loose cart? No, it's okay.
Well, 30 more. That's I
not
could do
terrible.
worse. Yeah.
It did. What's the
Yeah,
high
it spiked a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, but
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
yeah.
Thanks for the
No
check.
worries. Thanks. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's get you these.
Let's get you a couple bucks.
No worries.
Hello.
Sup?
What's up?
So I've got an interesting history of game collecting. I think I'd rather go with some games that I got for pretty good deals rather than some that I missed out on.
Yeah.
So years ago, I acquired a Super Nintendo from one of my dad's friends, along with a bunch of games with boxes and manuals. Among them was Super Mario RPG.
Nice.
Nice.
And maybe like later that same year, my parents were at a yard sale and found one of those, drawers for Super Nintendo. Among them was Castlevania Dracula X,
Nice.
Captain Commando,
Very
Ooh,
nice.
and Mech Warriors.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
And all completely free.
Were you
Along with
also
a couple
waiting for
Genesis,
Hagane?
couple
I
Genesis
was waiting
games
for
were in there too. I think Adventures of Batman and Robin was in there.
Ooh, that's a good
Oh,
one,
yeah,
too,
I do like that
That's
game.
a lot of great stuff, though.
But
yeah.
one of my biggest stories is when back in 2015 I was at a GameStop and there was a guy there. I was just there to pick up NES Remix, which
Yep.
is also a game
Great
now.
one there.
But there was a guy coming in with a box full of stuff, and he was trying to trade in a bunch of old games. One of them, among them, was Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, yeah.
And GameStop would not take it because there was a little bit of sticker residue on it. and they were very, they were very.
Okay, sure.
Deal with that.
I wonder where, I wonder where that sticker came from. GameStop. So I met him outside the store. Very nice guy. Made him an offer, and I got Conquer's Bad Fur Day for $10.
Ooh,
Nice,
yeah, very
nice.
nice.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have only whatever you want. We only have like 4 or 5 minutes left. So I just want to maybe do some lightning rounds. So just best stories if you can, and we'll just kind of blaze through as many people as we can.
Hi. Hello. How are you
Hello.
guys? So one of the games I got like for a good steal was mostly at auctions, and one that I've been actually currently trying to sell is ECW Anarchy Rules on PlayStation 1, and this is a sealed copy. I got it for like $70, and it goes now like around 100. ECW Anarchy Rules. RULZ.
Oh,
Yep,
there it is.
that's
Oh,
the.
it's because I didn't say RULZ.
Yeah.
You know, like an idiot.
Yeah, it goes super cheap if it's loose or complete, but new sealed is like around 100.
$3. That's
Not
not bad.
And I'm trying to sell that. Yeah. But it's been hard because at least in stores, but like
That's
online,
spiked
like,
up very
probably better.
recently.
Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't heard of this game, so.
Yeah, that's all.
Cool.
Thanks, man. That one.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
So, my good story is my neighbors were having a yard sale across the street, and I was at work, and my wife texted me. He's like, "Hey, they're selling some GameCube games." It's like, "Oh, what are they selling?" Like, some Tetris game, some licensed game, and Paper Mario: 1,000 Year Door.
Nice.
So I'm like, buy it. I don't care how much it is, buy it. So I got Paper Mario: 1,000 Year Door, complete in box, mint condition, with booklet for $5.
Whoa! All right, yeah, that's good. That's good.
good. How much is that one worth now? That one's like
Oh,
150 now?
Yeah, that one shot up.
So while he's looking that up, Andrew went to PAX East last year, and $100. Yeah, that's
100, yeah.
pretty good. Andrew went to PAX East and showed me a picture of a booth that was selling a bunch of GameCube games, and most of them were $100 up, and they had Pokemon Box there for $2,000. And then the next day, someone else posted a picture of that booth, and the Pokemon Box game was gone. It had sold.
Yeah. So somebody was crazy enough to spend $2K on that.
Yeah, but like GameCube is crazy on that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, I think we can only get to one more, so. Hello.
Hi. So I was thinking about a couple stories, but I think I've tangible proof for one.
Okay.
So there's a game for the Game Boy Color called Shantae.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard of it. So that game, the original cartridge, stupid expensive because it was underproduced because it came out right as the GBA was.
Yep.
So I couldn't buy it. Obviously, couldn't buy it for any. So, but when the Limited Run Games announced that they were doing a limited run for the re-release, they also released a re-release of the reproduction of the cartridge. So I get on the ball about that. Pay about 45, 50-ish for that GBC version. Takes about a little under a year to get it. And go to MAGFest yesterday, $175 for a complete box.
For the reprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even the reprints eventually just spike up in price like crazy.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So I think we are going to call time. But I just want to say thank you, everyone, so much for hanging out and talking with us about your gameplay experiences. Thank you so much, John, for hanging out with me and talking about all the crap we've been through the last couple of years and beyond. Again, if you liked this and you had a good time, I have more on youtube.com/LaughingboyLP. You can check out the full video podcast. You can check it out live as well once a month. And you can also see us at Spotify. Search for DialogBOX. Thank you guys so much for coming. I think if you can rate us on Guidebook, give us a good rating.